Welcome to the WanderLearn Show. I'm your host, Francis Tapon. In this episode, I have two guests at the same time. One of them is Eric Gilbertson, which you've heard from before. He's the crazy guy who's gone up Mount Everest without oxygen. He went up K2, another amazing, the second tallest mountain in the world. And he also went up Kanchenjunga, which is the tallest mountain, the third tallest mountain in the world. And he's trying to get to the tallest mountain of every country in the world. I was in Estonia and I ran into Krisli Melesk, who just so happened, by some coincidence, to be on K2 at the same time Eric Gilbertson was there, and they met each other there. And so, because she was there in Estonia with me, I decided to have all three of us into one great conference call. This is a two-part series. In this episode, we'll talk mainly about the high mountains, these 8,000 meter peaks and above. And next week, they'll be back again to talk about Eric's traverse across Greenland. Hey, Eric, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks. Good to talk to you.
So tell us first how you and Chris met on K2.
Oh yeah, we were both on K2 together. One of my partners, Marie Sam, already knew Chris from Estonia, so she introduced us. Chris was in K2 base camp. I think you'd already come down from the summit, maybe, and we were on our way up. Yeah. And then you hosted us in your cook tent, and that was really friendly.
Yeah, we had the lounge with the pork and like the Spanish ham and everything.
Oh, and the big inflatable couch sofas.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about this stuff, because I mean, for those who don't know, I mean, sometimes you imagine like these people climbing up these tough mountains are like really roughing it, but sometimes I hear these stories like you had like a whole pig there, right?
Well, it was just a leg.
But it was like you spent like weeks eating it.
Well, it was like on a stand, like a proper leg, and yeah, we had people from other camps coming in to eat the leg, because we had later on another leg as well without the stand. But yeah, we had a lot of meat, which was very inappropriate in Pakistan because it was pork. But it tasted good.
Do you remember eating it, Eric?
Yeah, that sounds familiar. I remember our team had an ox that walked in with us, and we had a lot of ox meat on that trip.
Yep.
He walked in with you, but he didn't walk out with you.
Yeah, he didn't walk out.
So tell us now. You had a perfect day on K2, Chris, right?
Yeah, we had.
But I was thinking. I remember your day being all right, Eric. Am I remembering, or was the weather-wise you were a little bit late in the season, right?
Yeah, we waited till after Chris's group came down, and then we went up in the mountains a little more open.
Right, because you were trying to avoid the rock fall and that kind of stuff. Yeah,
it's a little safer if there's fewer people on the mountain, because rock fall can...
Describe the rock fall you experienced. You experienced some zingers.
Well, yeah, on the way back, but we were very lucky, because after our team summit, it was me and one of the guides who came completely back to the base camp on the same day. So we were really, really lucky, because there was not many people on the route back, or like nobody was really coming down, because a lot of the teams stayed on the mountain for another extra day. And even then, there was, between the Camp 2 and ABC, there was so much rockfall, because it's like straight down, and the sounds, and it was like we were ducking, like really... And it was sketchy.
ABC, by the way, is Advanced Base Camp, for those who don't know.
Yeah, and I got hit by a rock.
Yeah.
I got hit in my leg, and I was limping. But at that point, it was safer to go up, because we were almost to Camp 1, get out of the danger zone. Yeah. And luckily, it hit my calf and not my bone. It would have probably broke my leg, but it got better.
Yeah. Did anybody get seriously injured from rockfall during that particular season or trip?
There was one avalanche that hit a couple people. I think it killed a couple Canadians, maybe. They were at the base of the climb up to Camp 1.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were just above ABC. That was the issue I heard of.
Okay. Well, I know that when we were coming down the Afghani climber.
Oh, right.
He passed, and then one of the Australian guys.
How did he pass? How did he die?
I think it was altitude related.
Yeah,
he was just below Camp 3.
Yeah, he was very young as well. Like he was in his 30s. So...
He was a porter?
No, a climber.
Yeah,
and he's 33 years old, and he just had altitude sickness?
In his 30s.
And like cerebral edema or something?
I'm not sure exactly.
Okay.
I think it was related to that.
Probably.
There were other issues up higher with, like, one guy in our group, he was trying with no O2, and he kind of, like, lost consciousness around 8,300 meters. And a Sherpa gave him his oxygen to go down. And I caught up with him and in the bottleneck, and he slipped on the rope, and the rope caught him.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And then these two Italians came down with... Mm-hmm. Two Italians came down, and one was snowblind. And we all met up in the bottleneck, and I was helping them down. That wasn't good. Everyone got down safely.
Wow, that's pretty special to get snowblinded on K2.
And the bottleneck, for those who don't know, is the toughest part. It's the crux of the hike. It's obviously a bottleneck, and it's very high up, and it's got a mean serac looking over your head, which is a big block of ice that could fall at any moment and ruin your day. We're going to get into more of the update on what you've been up to, Eric. But before I want to do that, I want to just talk about some of the unexpected things that you were surprised on K2, and maybe you were, Chris, you were surprised on K2 that you just didn't expect. You know, that people, as much as you probably read and researched, what was it about it that kind of surprised you? We'll start with you, Eric.
Well, first of all, the rockfall, I didn't anticipate that, and that almost turned into a major issue. And then also the amount of trash on the mountain was very surprising. I guess there are a very limited number of campsites, very small area where a lot of people are crammed together. But then there are a lot of tents that were just left there. Like Camp 2, we put our tent on a pile of 10 other tents.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit windy there, and if a tent gets ripped, they'll just leave it. And now I've heard that since then it's been cleaned up, but it was pretty bad.
Well, I completely, with that, I agree. It was pretty bad. Even Camp 1, it's like one slope. It's kind of limited space. And then one slope is basically like a pee area, and it's like a trash area. And it's like smells bad, and it's...
This is Camp 2.
That's Camp 1, actually.
Oh.
And then Camp 2 is even worse place because you have really limited space. And it's just like really dirty, like just piles of stuff, like old tents. We even saw like one of the tents flying away. The guy was carrying it and then was like kind of trying to move it from like one rock to another, and it's like half flying away. And then he was like trying to catch it, and there's not really a comfortable place to move. And but also what was surprising for me, because we had so many more people going up, it was just a lack of experience in people who were coming up, you know. I mean, I'm sure, me saying that, for Eric it must be even like it's a completely different cup of tea, but even if I can see it, then I mean for you it must have been like you would hold your head and pray for God, you know. But yeah.
You would think that K2 would have prepped. You think K2 would have prepared hikers? I mean, like Everest, you almost kind of expect a bunch of, you know, people, weekend hikers to show up. But K2, you would think, you know, this is the serious shit here.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend people get more experience going for K2. It's pretty dangerous. One of the I was kind of surprised by the weather. We actually end up spending 2 nights without sleeping bags up at Camp 3 and without food, because we thought there was a weather window to summit. We were just going to go fast and light Camp 2 to summit and back. And then we were waiting around in Camp 3, and it snowed like 20 centimeters, and it was supposed to be clear. So we found it was actually good for us. There was an abandoned tent, and one of the Sherpas there told us there's no one in that tent. You can just hang out there. We didn't have a sleeping bag, and we were didn't have food, but our appetite drops at altitude, so we didn't need the food anyway. So we just kind of spooned and shivered at night, and we made it through.
Cute man.
How was your Camp 3 experience? A little bit better? Was there a little bit better?
Well, mine was like, we got up there. It was really sunny. I was basically...
Were you on oxygen already at that point?
Yeah, but I went from like, because we wanted to move really fast between Camp 2 and 3, because it's like the Black Tower. Yeah. Is it black? Yeah.
Oh, the Black Pyramid?
Black Pyramid,
Black Pyramid.
Sorry. Oh, and there's the Grey Tower in... that's me as a mountaineer here. But no, there was the Black Pyramid, and we just went up. It's like a rocky area, so I need to move fast. So
because of rockfall danger?
Well, yeah, just there's like people would push the like slabs off with their crampons if they don't know how to move properly, and you don't just want to walk behind people.
Did you have problems there, Eric, on Black Pyramid?
We were the only ones at that time. Between Camp 1 and 2, there was some rock fall. The Black Pyramid, we were the only ones on there. There was like 2 guys that came down, then there was no one above us on the mountain.
But
So
when you were taking steps, were you letting off a bunch of debris behind you, basically? Would it have been a problem had there been more people, you imagine?
There are probably places, I could imagine. A lot of different places.
Yeah, it wasn't like everywhere, but certain points. I remember when we went up, we actually took our crampons off because it was easier to go just without just with the boots. I remember we just made the decision without I was pretty much hiking with one of my guides, and we just wanted to move fast, so we put oxygen on. He told me to put oxygen on. We had a big fight because I'm like, no, I want to go without. And so because I was feeling fine, and I want to push myself to see
how far you could go,
how I can do actually without it,
Right.
And he's like, no, you have to put it. So we got into this argument on the bloody mountain, and I was just like, okay, whatever. Anyways, got up to Camp 3 finally, all happy and stuff, and then it was beautiful day, sun was out. I was with a polo and trousers, that's how I camp I hike basically really light because I hate being too warm, and I run really warm. So yeah, I was chilling, having probably a little ciggy as well, like a celebratory or something. It's terrible. I'm horrible.
So Eric, if you had to do K2 all over again, or anybody's listening to this, what would you advise? What would you have done differently? Now, you went without oxygen, so that's a different challenge, obviously. And then also, Chris, you'll ask, what would you have done differently? But I'll start with Eric.
I still think our strategy was a good one to minimize time on the mountain. So just go to Camp 2 on the first day and then summit and back from there. I still think that's a good strategy because we can
You were acclimatized, though. Hold on. You were acclimatized on another mountain before.
Oh, I climbed Broad Peak before.
All right.
So you want to minimize your time at altitude, minimize your time in the danger zone. And we just got unlucky with the weather. We were radioing down to base camp, and they said, oh, the summit's in the sun. Yeah, but there was this narrow band of clouds that was dumping 20 centimeters of snow on us.
Sorry.
So in hindsight, also I think it's good to minimize time above 8,000 meters without oxygen. Because on K2, I was just in the death zone for 8 hours or 10 hours or something. Versus on Everest, I was up there for 40 hours in the death zone, and I got altitude issues. So going fast, I would still try to do that again on K2.
Right. What about you? What would you have done differently?
Well, we were really fortunate, both ways. The first acclimatization, the weather only sucked. On the way down, it got really snowy and stuff, and it was still supposed to be good. But the summit day, I would have waited probably later. Would have gone later. I mean, we did a great decision of going early because we were in the top without waiting behind people, but we were on the top during the night, so we couldn't really, it was kind of dark, and it got cold after 45 minutes, so then we started seeing things, and it was kind of okay, great, because later on the people who were on the summit, they it was amazing, everything was just
perfect.
But I mean, that's the mountain, and the safety and your health and everything is more important, so I think it went as great as it could have gone, I got everything out of it what I wanted.
Now, Eric, when you got down at K2, was Chris already gone or packed up and left, or were they there to celebrate?
Mm-hmm.
I think they were gone.
Yeah.
We ended up spending a lot more time than we expected. We were expecting 2 days up and took
but you had no
5.
idea he could have died, and you would have never known.
No, because I was kind of in touch with Maria on GPS, or the Garmin inReach. But she had another story there, but I knew about the boys because I was always asking about you guys as well. And so I knew that it went well for you and all of that. So we always knew still people in the base.
Okay.
So
cool.
we would always keep in touch. So
that's cool. All right. Now, let's talk briefly. I want to go on to Eric's updates, but Kanchenjunga, you went, now Eric, you went up Kanchenjunga, which is the 3rd tallest mountain in the world. And it's a part of it's in China and India. No. India.
the Nepal-India border.
Nepal and India, pardon me. And they forced you to go with oxygen because they had other climbers that season who had problems, correct?
Yeah, 2 other climbers, solo O2 climbers, had just died. There were active rescue operations then. One on Everest, one on Kanchenjunga. And then I show up and I want to do that. And they're like,
right.
Understandably, they don't want me to do that.
No O2, that just means no oxygen and solo, obviously. So you were going up the mountain looking for these, or to go to help these guys get down?
Well, the rescue team flew in to base camp with me, and they just went straight up, and they were super fast. And then I went up like the next day.
Okay, got it. Interesting. To briefly tell us your quick experience on.
Well,
because you were not able to get to the top.
No, yeah. Well, luckily it wasn't me. No, I went. I did like acclimatization before, so I was like fully. I climbed Nupse.
Okay.
So I was like.
Nupse is under 8,000 meters, but it's one of the. It's a very big mountain. Well, so it's 7,900.
Yeah, just under, or like 7,900 something. I'm pretty bad with these numbers.
Eric probably knows.
Probably knows, yeah. Do you?
I don't remember. It's below 8,000.
Let's just say
upper 7,000.
Yeah. Anyway, continue.
But it's like the trio, Nupse, Lhotse, Everest, you know. So, but anyways, I did that, and then I was pretty well acclimatized.
Really well.
Yeah, I was really well acclimatized.
So what stopped you?
Well, we flew in, and then there was a problem with the Sherpa teams were fixing the rope, and that year was also a lot of so-called like individual climbers and without O2 climbers, a lot. And that's my personal feeling completely, is people maybe didn't put enough money into the Sherpa's fixing team pocket. So they kind of said they fixed the line to the wrong couloir and so-called to the wrong way. But somehow some of the Sherpas, they had already been on the summit in the previous years who were in the fixing team. And so basically I was up to 8.2 or 8.3. But then there was still like another 7-8 hours to go because Kanchenjunga's summit is a long way, you know.
Is this the one where they kind of set the wrong? You went the wrong way. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened to you, Eric? Where the Sherpas set up, the cords going the wrong way, the ropes going the wrong way?
Not to me. I've heard Kanchenjunga is a little bit complicated to know exactly which couloir goes to the summit. I mean, I was pretty fortunate that the guys I was with, it was a bunch of Sherpas that knew where they were going, and they had already fixed the rope. So I just had to follow it.
And that ends this episode of the WanderLearn podcast, where we explore travel, technology, and transformation. If you'd like to see the show notes with links to what we've talked about, go to wanderlearn.com and click on this episode. If you'd like to connect with me, just remember Tapon. That's my first initial and my last name. Tapon is always my social media username. My website is ftapon.com. Do you want to leave me an anonymous voicemail where you can make a comment or ask a question? Then go to speakpipe.com/ftapon. Furthermore, if you'd like to get rewarded for supporting my projects, then go to patreon.com/ftapon. That's where you can pick up some remarkable rewards for as little as $2 a month. Now, 5 quick favors. Number 1, subscribe to the WanderLearn podcast. 2, download it. 3, share it. 4, review it. And 5, sign up for my newsletter at wanderlearn.com. Our theme music was composed by Eric Stratman. This is Francis Tapon, encouraging you to wander and learn.